10x your service design offering with Smaply. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smaply.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smaply, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Perk Pomeyie is a Ghanaian environmental activist from Accra, who is currently the national coordinator of the Ghana Youth Environmental Movement, a leading youth-led environment and climate advocacy and campaign group in Ghana. I started by asking Perk to tell me more about how the youth movement works.
So we are a leading youth-led environmental policy advocacy and non-violent campaign group in Ghana. So we work by mobilizing young people within our community to take action and also to solve environmental issues within their communities, and also participate in the national decision-making processes on the issues of climate change and other environmental actions in the country. So we also, as a youth movement, we identify as a movement because we draw inspiration from social causes or social groups from the past that have been able to lead and take actions that have contributed to the transformational change of society that we currently live in. So we draw inspiration from these social movements and also are learning from them some of the actions and the tools that they used to be able to achieve the systemic changes that they were able to achieve. So we do this by mobilizing young people, by engaging in activities such as campaigns, using tools like nonviolent direct action. We also conduct researches. We also engage in policy advocacies in some of our projects and activities, and also take on community-based project implementation. So we are, as a youth movement, yes, we work with young people between the ages of 15 to 35 because we believe this is a critical age group, and as an age group that experiences most of the impact of the environmental crisis that we have in our age, and also whatever decision that's going to be made today is going to affect or impact our lives. So there's a need for young people to get involved, and we also look for commitment and availability amongst young people and work with those we recruit by supporting them with skills and network opportunities and training opportunities to build their capacity to be able to work effectively in the area of their interests in the environment.
Fantastic, really important work. Tell me something, Perk, about the natural beauty and the nature of Ghana.
Ghana is a country known to have quite, it's rich in biodiversity. Looking at our landscape, which is a bit diverse. We have the rainforest, we have the savanna, we have the coastal communities. So there's a beautiful diversity when it comes to environmental landscape. And due to that, we have some of our key tourist attractions that are designed around the natural environment, like the Kakum Park, like the Mole National Park, and other park or tourist sites. So looking at the environmental scape in Ghana, it's really beautiful and diverse with the flora and fauna of the country. And also in the Tiwa Forest range like this, we've identified certain key biodiversity species that are not even available in other parts of the world. So these are some of the beautiful environmental landscapes that we have in the country.
The greatest source of aluminium is found in a soft rock called bauxite, generally red in colour due to its high iron ore content. Bauxite is a fruit of tropical forests. A hot and wet tropical climate sets the perfect conditions for bauxite formation, which requires a prolonged period of high temperatures and heavy rainfall. This tropical weathering also produces a wide variety of chemistry and ore mineralogy. Bauxite thus varies substantially in composition depending on the region it is found, containing minerals and materials such as quartz, hematite, magnetite, siderite, and goethite. Several toxic and heavy metals such as arsenic, lead, cadmium, chromium, titanium, vanadium, or mercury occur in bauxite. Bauxite is a very soft rock that liquefies and turns to a fine dust easily. I asked Perk, how has bauxite mining impacted the natural beauty of Ghana?
Bauxite mining, we know is strip mining. So the process of mining is very destructive to the environment because you have to strip off the topsoil, and that also means stripping off the natural habitat, the natural vegetation, stripping off biodiversity or wildlife habitats from the topsoil to be able to get access to bauxite, which is the raw material. And this is very destructive and devastating because then you would have to destroy what you have on top of the land to be able to get access to the minerals below the topsoil. And this also leaves the vegetation or the very rich rainforest vegetation very dry because then once you clear the topsoil, you are losing this naturally built ecosystem which you cannot replace after strip mining. And this also leaves the land very bare. So a bare land is prone to issues like droughts. You have issues like land topsoil cracks. Also, in some areas, you have issues of dust production. You have a lot of dust particles or dust being produced because the land is bare, is dry, is parched, and also it becomes unfertile. It becomes unuseful to humanity. So these are some of the impacts it has on the land itself, and also definitely once it has an impact on the land, it's going to have an impact on the livelihoods of the people living within those communities or people whose livelihood depend on the natural ecosystem or the natural resources that are on the topsoil, that are on the land.
And what sort of area are we talking about, Perk? How much land are we talking about from an area point of view?
So I can't give exact figures, but I'm looking at some of the existing bauxite mining sites that we have in the country, like in Nahim and our. So those are very big landscapes, probably measured in hectares. And looking at drone footages or images of the bauxite, the existing bauxite mining site, you could see that it's very destructive. A whole patch of land looking very red or brownish, and it's clear. It's very clear that this part of land that has been destroyed can no more sustain any type of life. It cannot sustain life. It cannot sustain plant life. It cannot sustain animal life because it's been destroyed. It's been left bare and unproductive. So talking about size, I can't give figures, but from a current or existing bauxite site is very huge, and we don't want to see that happen in the Itiwa forest range. Also, because the Itiwa forest range plays a critical role with our water resources. The forest sources 3 main rivers, which provide water to over 5 million Ghanaians. So destroying the forest also means you are destroying the source of water to this number of Ghanaians. And water is very important, and also in a country where we are already facing water challenges. Ghana Water Company, which is a state institution, is already rationing water. So having bauxite mine in the Tiwa forest is going to have devastating impact on the forest and also livelihoods that are not even within the forest range and beyond the forest range, and also as a country as a whole.
Just in relation to water, the bauxite mine itself uses a lot of water, doesn't it, in the mining process?
Absolutely. It does uses water in its process in mining and refining and also processing the raw material out. So once it's out, you may have to wash it, just like how in other mining processes you have to be able to extract the mineral from the whole other unwanted material that you get from digging out the minerals.
Are there areas in Ghana where the mining companies have left, so to speak, from the bauxite, and if there are, they've basically left behind a desert, have they? What's left behind, they don't repair it, or they don't make it fertile again?
From the current sites are left bare. The lands are left just like they are not regenerated. So the land are left bare and they just produce red dust, which then pollutes the community and leaves people's property and leaves other infrastructures within the community, within the range which the forest is taking place, coated with red dust, which has other serious health implications and also implications on people's livelihood and also on infrastructure and other aspects or other aspects of the lives of people really living within their community.
Tell us more, Perk, about the red dust and its impacts, and how far it can go and travel throughout Ghana.
Red dust can travel far because even considering the huge trucks that move the material from the raw material from the mining sites all the way to where they are kept, they are stored, they are processed, or even if exported, you can see that they leave particles on the trail. So then the communities, the closest communities to the line site are always covered in red dust. There are heavy trucks always plowing the road and leaving traces of red dust particles within the community because they always drive through the communities to get out these raw materials. And you find red dust covering the other part of the vegetation that have not been mined yet. So then you have red dust as a coat on plants, and this also hinders plant growth in the forest scapes, because then you have red dust covering almost everything and also allowing the plants and the natural vegetation there to grow properly or efficiently. You also have red dust covering infrastructure, so people's homes are always filled with red dust, people's businesses are always filled with red dust. So this also then has an impact on your ability to keep to the hygiene or hygienic practices in terms of keeping your home very clean and neat, always offices where you do your business, even with living within your own homes, you have red dust particles always in the atmosphere. So which also means that you get to consume this even in your daily lives, apart from inhaling them. Whenever you open your mouth to eat something, you have red dust in the particles, which may not even be visible to your own eyes. So then the impact or the devastating impact of red dust is quite broad, not just within the communities that are closely very close to the mining site, but also along the trails and the road networks by which these raw materials are taken out of the mining sites.
So we're talking about impacts around hundreds of kilometers away from the actual mines themselves.
Absolutely.
And tell us, Perk, a little bit about the impact of the red dust or other toxic elements on the actual health of people and animals, either close to the mine or on the roads where the trucks are travelling. Tell us, are there increases in diseases or respiratory diseases among the people and among the animals in the areas?
Red dust also once affects air quality. So then air pollution is very consistent and rampant in such communities. And with dust particles filling the airspace for the community members and those living around or on the ridge of the tracks, the transport tracks, it raises issues of respiratory concerns like having to be exposed to other diseases like catarrh, which in other words are called flu in the West or in Europe. But here it's very devastating because then you have your runny nose. It comes with migraine headaches, which causes serious health concerns also to people living within the communities and also to animals. Yes, once it affects the air quality, it's also going to affect the air quality that animals within the forest range or the mining sites breathe in, and also for habitats that live below the topsoil, like some rodents that help with soil aeration with air going into the soil, and also with other rodents that help with soil network and also help with the growth of trees in terms of their root network. This topsoil mining then has effect on this type of biodiversity that are found within this mining site, and also with the issue of animals. Then once the habitats of animals are destroyed, then they have to then look for other places to call their home. Then you now have some wild animals from the forest cape or catchment moving into the homes of people, like snakes and other poisonous animals that are supposed to be left or are supposed to have their habitat in the forest, now moving into the homes of people because they live close to some of these mining sites.
And just for listeners to the podcast, the bauxite, the best place to get bauxite is in tropical forests. So where they're mining, Perk, is in the most biodiverse places on earth. The Amazon, they do bauxite mining in the Amazon in Brazil as well. So these places are some of the best places in the world for biodiversity, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Like we currently have, in the case of the Itiwa forest, is very rich in biodiversity, and also because of its richness in biodiversity, it has been said to be a biodiversity rich area and has been noted to contribute to the rich ecosystem that we have within the forestscapes in the country. So as part of our campaigns and as part of the actions that CSOs and other groups are running, is to protect the forest range or the scape, because one, Etiwa forest range makes 1/3 of the 20% of the forest scape that we have in the country. And it's important for us to protect the forest scape and convert it into a national park where scientists, it could serve as a hub for scientists to study the rich biodiversity that we have in the landscape. It also serve as a natural place for fun games, for touring, and also for other purposes, and also even protecting and nurturing some indigenous plant species that are found within the forest landscape.
So this is the alternative you're presenting, that if we protect biodiversity, there can be jobs in tourism or in research or other areas. There are alternative solutions. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely, there are alternative solutions to to development, and we don't need to destroy the forest cover to be able to develop in terms of infrastructure wise, where uh, having a better deal to mine bauxite in the forest and also to develop the country, like build hospitals, have good road networks, and that the country can still generate that amount of money that it needs sustainably to develop. So here we are also urging the government to consider green development rather than other destructive ways of developing the country.
You've mentioned a little bit about local communities, because often the argument is that the mining brings jobs, but give us an overall perspective of the positives and the negatives, so to speak, or the true impacts on the local communities. Are they happy with the bauxite mining because it's bringing jobs, or what is the true perspective of the impact on the local communities?
I would say that most of our laws do not favor the locals or the indigenous people living within these communities. It most often favors the investors. So in terms of, that the narrative out there is going to create jobs and transform their lives, but you don't see that reflecting or happening in the lives of those living in the community. A case scenario is these mining companies then come into the community, they set up, they hire their people, they employ people beyond the community, and even most often don't even have a good percentage of local and international employees ratio. So then you have these companies bringing in their own people from outside the country to come work. Then you have just a handful of people from the community doing the menial jobs, like the working class, and these are people who don't even earn much of the revenue or the profit generated from the bauxite mining. So these people still find themselves living in challenges. Also, you still find these people living low livelihoods, because then the revenue they even get, and even that's just a handful of people who are employed, because then they do not even have the required skills, knowledge, and they do not have the required capacity to be able to effectively work in such offices or work with such companies. And the communities, most often the narrative is these mining companies, through CSR projects, community social responsibility projects, invest or give back into the communities. But then you don't really see much of this, because then you have community people complaining or talking about they not be able to afford school fees. They having to spend a lot of the little money they have on their health because of the impact of bauxite mining on their communities. Also, road networks. The roads are very bad, and you still see these companies with their heavy trucks plowing the roads with poor road networks, so many potholes, and they do not even see or feel the impact, because then they use heavy trucks, probably even drive the best of cars with the best of the trucks as well. But then you have community people walking using these routes to their homes or to their workplaces. You have them using public transports, which are already in poor condition and shape. So most of the times, these deals do not really impact positively the lives of those living within the community.
Yeah, and I read, Perk, about in the Amazon and in Guinea, and how in some communities they had to start buying in vegetables and foods because they couldn't grow local vegetables anymore because of the pollution from the bauxite mining, and that the prices of basic commodities of rice and other products started significantly increasing. So they ended up being poorer, many people in the local community, than before the mining companies had arrived.
Yes, and I would say that in the case of Ghana, it's even too different from what's happening in Brazil, because then once a mining company moves there, and because of the nature of the business, you have businesses increasing their prices to be able to make much revenue. So then these company workers or officials are able to afford services, but the locals are not able to afford these services because of the nature of the business and the perception that's created within the community. So we have issues. We've had issues like that in Ghana, in sites where mining takes place, not just bauxite mining, but even gold mining like Obuasi, Takwa, where it's very expensive to live in such communities. Even with rent, renting a space is very expensive because of the nature of the industry and the perception that's created around the class or the economic class of people that live or that work within those communities.
Do you have any, Perk, specific stories of individual families that you know, or people, or say examples of how much rice used to cost and how much it costs now? Or do you have any specific examples or specific personal stories that you have been told by mothers trying to raise children, or fathers, or any sort of stories like that?
Okay, I do not have personal stories from people in the community and experiencing direct impact, but I've had opportunity to work with a fellow activist who hails from one of the mining communities, that's Takwa, and in a conversation we were talking about how we could do a collaborative project to support him campaign against the mining company, and they ignoring the plight or the cries of the community and leaving them in very devastating conditions, like very terrible road networks, and a road network of about 10 kilometers, which should take you maximum 15 or 30 minutes drive, will take you more than an hour because the road is very bad. So then you spend more or longer hours on road. And this is going to have an impact on your productivity if you work outside the community. If you are a student who uses the road to school, that's going to also have an impact on your time and availability, since you'd have to spend more time on road, and that also would mean you have to reduce your time on other activities, probably your sleep, and to be able to make enough time to commute to school. So we've had that conversation, and these were some of the challenges he raised. And he specifically was talking about how terrible the road was for people within the community, and the dust particles that were being left as trails whilst these trucks moved the raw materials.
How has the government responded? You said earlier that they tend to favour the investors rather than the communities, but how has been the overall government response?
So the overall government response hasn't been encouraging. It hasn't really been encouraging, and that has always caused us as a youth movement and also as environmental crews to keep campaigning, to keep doing our policy advocacies, and also to keep holding our government accountable. Currently, GEM is part of a group of CSOs, organizations, and individuals that is holding the government of Ghana accountable to an action they took in the forest scape. So without a mining license, they entered the Tua forest to conduct some surveys, and they devastated some portions of the land. So currently we are suing the government. The case is currently at the court, where we are taking the government on that action that they have taken to destroy certain part of the forest without the permission or the license. And these are some of the actions we are taking to hold the government accountable. And it's clear that the government is not listening to the people, because if they were listening to, we would have gotten to the place where we are at the court holding the government accountable, and also questioning them on why they are bent on strip mining or mining bauxite from the forest instead of considering other alternatives like converting it into national park and also other sustainable ways of making the money or the revenue they expect to make to be able to develop the country.
Is there an environmental protection agency in Ghana? Is there an organization that is supposed to be responsible for the environment?
Yes, they are. We have the Environmental Protection Agency, which is EPA. We have the Minerals and Mining Act, which by the instrument are supposed to protect the environment and also the people and also protect these mining companies. But unfortunately, we don't see a lot of we don't see a lot of the work being done by them, or we are not satisfied by the level of work that they are currently doing in the country, and also because it's a government institution and there's some level of allegiance and loyalty to their political leaders. And yes,
well, I come from Ireland, and in Ireland the Environmental Protection Agency has had more a history of protecting industry than protecting the environment.
Yeah. So it's likewise here in the country also. Yes.
Yeah. So these are significant challenges going forward that governments, it seems, all over the world don't listen to the communities and don't listen to the citizens. How is things happening in Ghana now, Perk? Is the youth movement being listened to? Are you hopeful? Do you think you can bring about positive change? Do you have some momentum? What would be the way you see things right now?
It's sometimes overwhelming and frustrating to see your government not listen to you, to see them or to hear them say one thing in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of other international leaders, and do the other or the directly opposite in their home country. So it's frustrating. It's really frustrating sometimes, but we also draw inspiration from some of the past actions, the successes of some of the past projects and campaign activity that we've had, and we allow that to motivate and also to keep us hopeful that so that we don't stop and give up on the campaign and action. And as we campaign every year, we make little progresses, we make little steps, which inspires us to keep pushing. So it's been roller coaster kind of a journey, up and downs, but we are hopeful, and we also let the future we envision for ourselves, the safe and a just environment that we look forward to living in the future, and also for the future generation, we let that also inspire us to keep working hard to achieve what we set out to do.
Incredible. And could you give me a specific example, Perk, of success, of something that's been a success that has made you hopeful? Maybe just one example of something that, something you achieved recently or in the organization that said, oh, that gives us hope.
Yeah. So when the Tiwa case started, we haven't had enough or much of the young people or even youth movement get involved in the Itiwa campaign or the Itiwa actions. So we saw that there was a need for us to protect the forest cape, mainly because one of the key reasons was because it was a water resource for over 5 million Ghanaians, and this affected this water source feeds people beyond the region in which this forest cape is found. So we got involved, and we happen to be the only youth group that is part of a wide network of other NGOs and well-established organizations that are pushing for this action or goal. And since we have joined the youth movement, since we joined the coalition and a group that is pushing for the protection of the Etiwa forest range, we have seen a growth of interest in other young people, because we as a young people, as part of the group, then are beginning to create awareness on the issue and use our platform, which is already accessible to more young people, get more involved on the issue of the campaign and the Etiwa forest. So when we got involved, we've supported the campaign by holding a street march. We organized a street march, a protest in the city, where we marched to the parliament to present a petition to the senior minister. We've had a campaign during an election year, which used nonviolent direct action by having huge banners in the city on the major road network or streets of Accra, which most often you have these leaders, political leaders, use from their homes to their workplace, which is the ministerial offices. So we held a campaign on these major streets. And after these activities, we began to see a growth in awareness. We began to see the conversation on protecting the Etiwa landscape move from a small space onto the online platform. So you have people from Facebook engaging on this issue, young people talking about it, being informed, having that awareness on the issue, beginning to question the government, to the extent that the issue began to trend for long within the month. We even had an international support where we had Leonardo DiCaprio make a tweet on the Etiwa forest. So that was within the year which we got involved and created more awareness on the issue of the Etiwa forest. So this reflecting on these successes and how our small action as a youth group has been able to create a larger impact, this inspires us to keep pursuing our key objective of protecting the Etiwa landscape from bauxite mining.
Oh, absolutely brilliant! That's a great example, and really, really positive. So, I'm ready to say stop the recording. Is there anything else you'd like to say, or anything that I missed in the questions, or anything you'd like to add before we finish, before I stop the recording?
Yeah. So I think I would like to add that each and every citizen of the country has the right to enjoy a safe and a clean environment. And bauxite mining, what it does is to rip people of that right to be able to enjoy or have or live within a clean and a healthy environment. So as part of our campaign, this is what we also campaign for, that the rights of the people are being taken from them, and it's important for us to consider that in our quest to develop and also have the infrastructures. Because what the point if you have the asphalted road, you have the overheads and all these huge infrastructures, but then I do not have the access to basic human rights like to health, to clean water, to healthy food, and also to clean air.
If you're interested in these sorts of ideas, please check out my book, Worldwide Waste, at gerrymcgovern.com. To hear other interesting podcasts, please visit thisishcd.com.